Before we get into it, if you're finding this show useful, come hang out beyond the episodes. Head to steadyhandaccounting.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You'll get episode recaps and financial insights delivered straight to your inbox. The kind of stuff that's actually useful for running your agency. The link is in the show notes. Okay, let's go. You're listening to No Se Habla Taxes, the podcast for creative agency owners who want to understand the financial side of their business without drowning in spreadsheets. I'm Melissa Armstrong, CPA and fractional controller, and every episode I give you real talk about the money stuff nobody explains clearly enough. Today, as I record this, marks the first day of summer here in the US. And I just want to say, I'm so ready for it. As in, I've already started working on my tan. My wardrobe got a bright colors makeover, and I'm ready to make some serious money and help my clients do the same. Are you along for the ride? Thought so. Let's dive in. So, I got a message a few months back from a founder in my network. Her name is Dana. Dana runs a branding agency and she's doing solid work, has good clients, and it's clearing about $1.5 million in annual revenue. She's done the thing. She built it and she messages me because she's stressed. She says, Melissa, I think I need to hire a CFO. Do you do that? And I said, okay, tell me what's going on. And she starts describing her situation. Cash flow unpredictability. She's not totally sure where her margin is going. Project costs feel off, but she can't figure out why. And her bookkeeper is great, but Dana keeps asking questions the bookkeeper can't really answer. I'm listening to all of this and I said, Dana, you don't need a CFO, you need a controller. So she went quiet for a second and then she said, what's the difference? That question right there, that's why we're doing this episode today. Because Dana is not alone. I talk to founders all the time who are either overpaying for financial support they don't need yet or underpaying and getting almost nothing useful. And it's because nobody has ever clearly explained what these roles actually do. So today we are going to fix that. Let's start with the foundation. A bookkeeper, they record what has happened. That's the job. Transactions come in, transactions go out, and the bookkeeper makes sure they're categorized correctly in your accounting system, be it QuickBooks or whatever you're using. They reconcile your bank accounts. They keep the records clean. And if they're good, they're doing that consistently and accurately every single month. That is genuinely valuable work. Do not underestimate clean books. Messy books cause real problems downstream. But here's what a bookkeeper is not doing for you. They're not analyzing your numbers. They're not telling you why your margins are shrinking. They're not flagging that your biggest client is starting to cost you more to service than they're paying you. They're not thinking about cash flow 30 days from now. They're recording history. That's the job. So when Dana was asking her bookkeeper questions like, why is my cash flow weird? Am I making money on this client? Her bookkeeper wasn't dropping the ball. Dana was just asking the wrong person. Bookkeepers are the right hire when your business is earlier stage. Your financials are relatively straightforward, and you mostly need accurate records for tax time. If you're under about 500,000 in revenue and you don't have a lot of operational complexity, a good bookkeeper gets you pretty far. But the agency owners I work with have outgrown that, and they don't always realize it. Okay, so now let's get into the role where I actually live in. And I'm going to try not to be super biased here. A controller is where you go from recording history to managing the present. Controllers oversee the financial operations of a business. We make sure the bookkeeping is accurate, yes, but we're also building the systems that let you understand what your numbers mean. We're looking at month over month trends. We are tracking your actual margins versus what you projected. We're building reporting that gives you visibility into whether your business is operationally healthy, not just whether you have money in the bank today. We're also usually the ones setting up your financial processes. The way invoices get sent, the way expenses get approved, the way payroll gets handled. That's controller territory. We're building the infrastructure so your finances don't depend on one person knowing where everything lives. For agencies specifically, controllers are the ones who can look at a client engagement and tell you whether it was actually profitable. Not profitable in a, oh, we invoiced more than we spent way. Profitable in a real, fully loaded, what did it actually cost us to deliver the service way. That's the analysis that changes how you price. That's the insight that changes what work you take on. A fractional controller, which is how a lot of agencies access this kind of support, means that you're not hiring somebody full-time at a salary that doesn't make sense for your stage. You're getting controller level expertise for the number of hours you actually needed, which for a lot of agencies in that $500,000 to $5 million range, it's definitely not 40 hours a week. It's something much more targeted than that. Dana needed a controller, not because I am biased, although maybe I am, but because what she was describing was an operational visibility problem, not a strategy one. She had a business that was working. She just couldn't see it clearly enough to make confident decisions. Now, let's talk about the CFO, because this is where I see founders spend money before they're ready for it. A CFO is a strategic financial leader. They're thinking about the future of the business, fundraising strategy, capital allocation, whether you should take on debt to fund growth or whether you're better off staying bootstrapped. Mergers, acquisitions, exits, long-term financial modeling that helps leadership make big bets with some level of calculated confidence. That is not what most agency owners need at $3 million in revenue, certainly not at 1.5. It's just not. If you don't have investors and you're not planning an exit, and your biggest financial question is why your cash flow is lumpy and whether you can afford to hire a senior account manager, a CFO is not your answer. I have watched founders hire fractional CFOs and then describe what that person actually does. And what they're describing, that's a controller. Sometimes it's barely even that. But the title sounds impressive, and the founder felt like they were doing the responsible thing. And they're paying for a designation that doesn't match the work. Now, does that mean that CFOs are invaluable? Absolutely not. I work with them all the time, and true CFOs do amazing work. There's a stage of business where you absolutely need that strategic financial leadership. When you're scaling fast and the decisions you're making have compounding risk. When you have investors or stakeholders who expect financial reporting at a different level. When you're planning something that requires external capital or has structural complexity. But most of you listening are not there yet, and that is fine. That's not an insult. Know what stage you're actually in and hire for that stage. Here's the way I think about the arc of financial leadership as an agency scales. Early stage, you're doing some of this yourself, maybe working with a bookkeeper, probably meeting with your accountant once a year at tax time. And that works fine when things are simple. At the growth stage, you've got enough operational complexity that you need somebody managing the financial systems more actively. Revenue is probably somewhere in that 500,000, maybe up to 2 million range. That is controller territory. You need somebody who can close your books accurately every month, give you reporting you can actually use, and help you build financial processes at scale. And then the scaling stage. At this stage, you're probably over 2 million. You might have a leadership team. Your financial decisions are more consequential, and your reporting needs are more sophisticated. Now you might be looking at a controller plus a fractional CFO working in combination, and then eventually a full-time CFO. Listen, these aren't hard lines. Every business is different, but if you can roughly place yourself on that spectrum, you'll have a much better sense of who you actually need to hire. And for most of the agency owners I talk to, you need somebody in the middle, not the bookkeeper, not the CFO, the person in between who actually runs your financial operations and helps you understand what's happening in your business. Here's your homework for this episode, and it's a simple one. Write down the last 3 financial questions you asked or tried to ask and couldn't get a clear answer to. Then ask yourself, who was I asking? Was I asking my bookkeeper something that's actually a controller question? Was I Googling something that someone who knows my business should just be able to tell me? That list will tell you more about what kind of financial support you actually need than any job description ever will. If those questions are things like, where did my margin go? Or why is my cash flow inconsistent? Or am I making money on this client? Those are operational questions. Those are controller questions. And if nobody's answering them for you right now, that's worth paying attention to. All right. That's the episode. Remember, bookkeeper records your history. The controller manages the present. And the CFO plans the future. Know which one you need and hire for the stage that you're actually in. If you found this useful, share with another agency owner who's been confused about this, because there are more of them than you think. And if you want to know whether your financial support is actually set up right for where your business is, we do a thing called the No Se Habla Confusion Assessment. It's a 90-minute discovery call, a review of your books, and a follow-up with findings and a roadmap. $500 flat. Send an email to info@steadyhandaccounting.com with the subject line No Se Habla Confusion, and we'll get you scheduled. I'm Melissa Armstrong. Thank you for listening, and remember, no se habla taxes. Hey, before you go, if anything we talked about today made you realize you're not totally sure where your business stands financially, that's exactly what No Se Habla Confusion is for. It's a $500 assessment where I get into your QuickBooks, stress test your numbers, and give you a clear picture of what's working, what's not, and what to do about it. For creative agencies on QBO doing $300,000 to $3 million a year in revenue. Email me at info@steadyhandaccounting.com. Subject line, No Se Habla Confusion. Details are in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and no se habla taxes.